What's up, people? Hope you all had a nice 4th of July. I didn't post last week because I let myself enjoy a little holiday, but we're back. So last week, I sat down for a late night chat with a friend of mine who is a natural bodybuilder. So we got into fitness and general health topics, as well as what got him into wanting to get fit and what the journey into competitive bodybuilding has been like for him. So with that, I hope you enjoy this conversation I had with my friend Andy Easton.
So yeah, here we are, 12:30.
Mm-hmm.
Had a late night at work.
Yeah. I kind of like this time of night for talking, though.
It's quiet and it's soothing, actually. And I'm awake because, again, I've already been at work.
You also had a Red Bull.
I just pounded a Red Bull, drinking Jameson now.
Mm-hmm. It's good for you. I think it's healthy. You're into the health lifestyle.
I am. I enjoy Jameson before I go to the gym and after I go to the gym. Very much so.
It's my pre-workout and post-workout beverage.
It's the Irish
It's good
fit
for
life.
you. Yeah. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I think that's what they do. I think at a young age they're drinking Jameson by law, actually, in Ireland.
Yes, they do have a younger drinking age. But you know what I've always thought? Like our drinking age is 21, right? And every time somebody turns 21, what happens? Your friends take you out and they just want to get you wrecked.
Destroy you.
They don't want you to remember that night or the next day.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, right? Because you have no memories of your birthday and it's a whole thing. But it's almost like a rite of passage here, right? Because it's like 21. I feel like other countries don't really do that.
They don't need to.
Because one, the drinking age is lower for a lot of European countries. I mean, a lot of people grow up and they'll have a glass of wine at dinner when they're younger, when they're in their teens. And so drinking is a little bit more normal and just kind of built into lifestyle. So they don't feel the need to binge. Whereas here, it's something that's kept from you for so long that it feels like it's naughty. And so when you hit that 21, it's like you got to go super hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like we've created that culture.
Well, it's also funny when you're talking about cultures like that. In our culture in general, we're so used to being stifled as a culture in terms of what our liberties are. When it comes to drugs, when it comes to alcohol, sex, all those things are much more widely accepted outside of the United States. And I'm not saying that all these things that they do in other countries are better for the youth, or if it's a better decision. I'm not probably the best person to ask for that judgment. What's better? What's ethical?
It's your opinion.
Just my opinion. But I do notice that having those things at your disposal in other countries and much more legal senses makes the demand for those things, or the, again, like for lack of a better word, but the mystique of those things, the desirability of doing those things, you're not going to go out and like just try to get trashed all the time because you've been doing that since you were younger and you can do that much more easily.
Yeah. It's a normal part of life.
Yeah.
And so you do it in moderation.
Yeah.
Whereas if you feel like you can't have it, then it's like you overdo it.
Yeah. The human mind is crazy. The psyche that you want what you can't have. And I think that is just amazing about human beings in general. And we feed that addiction. That's an addiction itself, wanting what you cannot have.
Dang it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It sure is. And we do that in every aspect of our lives most of the time.
It's amazing. It's bizarre to me. The flaws of the human brain is insane to me. And the depths that people will sink to attain those flaws or to meet whatever the demand of that flaw is crazy. I mean, I've been there before. I've seen myself sink really low at different times in my life just because I was so flawed and because I wanted something so bad at that time. In reality, looking back at it, it's like, why did I even want that? Why did I even care about that?
We get caught up in these thought patterns or what we think it's going to be, you know? To me, that's also a sense of like an idealization. You're idealizing something that maybe is not good for you, but you'll do anything to get it. All of a sudden, it's like we just get stuck in those things.
Yeah.
I almost feel like when we're younger, they should teach us about self-awareness. Should teach us more about
self-reflection. Yeah.
That would be a very important thing to teach young people.
Yeah. Because, I mean, to be honest, like, there was never a self-reflection. I figured the most of self-reflection was nap time. And even then, I was terrible at it. I was the only kid awake. I had crazy ADD before they had, like, any sort of, like, remedy for ADD, before fidget spinners.
Yeah, which have changed your life now.
Yes. The fidget spinner has calmed my nerves, centered my chi, and now I can pay attention when people are talking to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I have 5 fidget spinners with me right now, just
Yeah.
so I can focus on this conversation.
You would. You would.
But yeah, there was never a self-reflection thing when I was a kid. And I think that's a good point. You could have something like that when kids are at a developmental stage in their growth.
If you could learn how to understand your own mind better, you know, even just the self-talk. I feel like we learn very negative self-talk for a long time too, you know?
Mhm.
And you know, we're taught, it's this weird thing. We have this kind of competitive spirit where it's like this American dream is a kind of every man for himself and you build yourself up. It's that kind of situation.
Yeah.
When I think we crave community.
That's a funny thing when you talk about the aspect of competitive nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think as humans, again, one of our flaws and one of our greatest strengths is that competitive nature. Almost everybody has a competitive nature. It depends on the application, though. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going to be competitive about sports. Not everybody's going to be competitive about completing like homework or education, things like that. But there's usually some sort of application for everybody based on their personality for some sort of room of competition, right? We always want to be the best at whatever it is we're trying to do.
Yeah.
That being said, it does kind of feed that addiction that we were just talking about before. It can bring people to a low place at times if they feed it in the wrong direction. And I think you're right about the pessimistic attitude that people always have, is that we're always trying to outdo somebody else. We're always trying to beat somebody else at whatever we're trying to do because we're trying to get ourselves higher. And that is the American dream, right? Get yourself to the best point that you possibly can be, you know. So look, in theory, you're taking care of the people below you, maybe your family, your friends, or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I feel like that competitive nature is that if that's all you have is just that spark or that fire to just keep you going, what happens when you get to the top? And then you have nothing else out there. You have nothing else you're chasing after you. Just sometimes it can become empty. And so that's why I found for me the best thing in life is to have goals. I'm always trying to create goals for myself. It could be the smallest thing, but if I have a goal, I'm always achieving something. And those goals are usually based for myself. There are some things in my life where I'm trying to compete against other people, but I'm trying to nip that in the butt as I get older. I'm trying to say, like, I want to be less about trying to be better than that guy, but be the better version of myself. You know,
Yeah, we should be competing with ourselves.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's what we should be doing. And then kind of putting that good energy out to encourage other people to be their better selves. I think is one of the most important things that we can do at this point. So I don't think competitiveness is bad, because in one sense it's good, because when you're being competitive, you're just trying to be the best at something. That is great. On the other side, I don't believe in participation trophies.
I hate it.
Participation trophies are weird too, though, because at that point you're like, well, everybody's good. It doesn't matter. Everybody's the same. Not everybody's the same. You still want to have a certain amount of achievement, right? And say, if I did lose, you want to learn to be not as good as other people so you can continue to strive towards being better yourself. So competitiveness is good. I think we've just framed it in a weird way now.
That's a good point, actually. I like the way you phrased that, because the way we've framed it, like you said, the way we've kind of placed or held the value of competing, you know what I mean? It's less about becoming the better version of yourself, like we talked about, and more about just winning to win.
You just want to beat somebody else.
Yeah.
And we're all people that are on the same plane trying to get better at something. And so we should be working towards that to help each other. You don't have to dislike the person that beat you. You have to say, what were they doing that's better than me? How do I get there?
Right.
It doesn't have to be about them being your enemy. There's somebody that now can help you be better.
And that's hard. That's another, that weakness or that flaw of the human nature is that vanity, right? Vanity. Of course, I picked the one sport that's the most vain sport there is.
Know, right?
So I'm battling it.
We're kind of built to be vain now. Social media has encouraged us to be more vain than anything.
Yeah.
We have Instagrams. We get it.
Exactly.
But it really frames our mind to be vain.
And I guess for me, again, I'm learning so much about myself in the last 2 years. I've done a lot of self-reflection in the last 2 years. I'm wondering is like, what is the tolerance level of vain? Because some vanity is necessary. Because again, it goes back to that self-reflection. If I don't put a light on myself, if I don't put a mirror in front of myself, and I don't expose myself to that vulnerability, which essentially is from the outside looking is that vanity. If I don't expose that, then I'm never going to push myself to really look at myself like that. I'm never going to push myself to put myself under a microscope and say, like, look at me. This is what I have, and this is what I am. So I'll never, if I don't do that, then I'm never going to give myself the opportunity to fail or maybe not be as good as this person. So I'll never hit that rock bottom, like you said, or lose or this or that. And I'll never want to pick myself back up. But what is too much? I think that's my goal right now, is figuring out what is too far.
It's figuring out where the line is. And I talked to somebody recently, and he was explaining the concept of narcissism. And he says, I'm trying to figure out how to find the perfect level of it. How much narcissism is good? He goes, because I would not have achieved the amount of success that I've achieved without being a little bit narcissistic. I had to really believe in myself and think I was awesome to do what I did. But at a certain point, it becomes unhealthy. So where do we learn where the line is?
So I do bodybuilding, right? I do bodybuilding. That's the sport that I've kind of picked for myself. I was never really good at like many other sports, but I love bodybuilding, right? You pick up weights, put them down, you follow a diet, and you pose, right? You look your best physical shape and you pose in these different positions that it's actually kind of physically hard. But once you learn it, it's fun. It is the most narcissistic and vain sport that you can possibly ever do. And people laugh and they joke and everything like that. And I'm fine with it. Like, I have pretty thick skin for the most part. I can take most things and I can kind of explain people and educate people what I love about it. But people tell me all the time, they judge me all the time based upon this decision that I've made for myself. And they tell me that it's unhealthy. And I'm like, okay, but change those things out of my brain. Take those things out of my brain. Take that passion that I have for this out of my brain, because I don't think you can. I don't think you can tell me I'm wrong because I find myself good in this one pose, or I found myself good in this one lighting for this moment, and I don't tomorrow. My body changes every single day. Every 24 hours, my body looks like a different shape or orb.
Yeah.
Like,
isn't that weird?
It's fucking
How
odd.
does that happen? This is more water here and there. What?
Does a mind job on me
Lighting.
every day. Yeah. The things I never cared about like 5 or 10 years ago, but I care about them now. But people, they have this judging kind of like attitude towards it because they don't understand it, and they want you to be perfect and have the perfect self-esteem for yourself. And I think that that's a cop-out because they don't have perfect self-esteem. They just don't have the balls to maybe do something that you're trying to do.
And we don't all have perfect self-esteem. Even the people that you think you look at and you're like, well, clearly they think they're beautiful. Clearly they think they're gorgeous.
That's the worst stigma.
Obviously they do. But I think we think that about so many people, because we look at them and we go, oh, that's an attractive human being. Why would they ever? They must know it. Yeah. Why would they ever feel any sense of insecurity about how they look or who they are?
Yeah.
And they don't project that to me all the time. Well, people don't do that. People are not going to show you their moments of vulnerability like that unless maybe you're close. But most of the time, you're not going to see that aspect. And those people, even people that you look at and they're like, oh, they're beautiful, they look great, they're so amazing, what could they possibly have to be insecure about? Those people feel that on the inside and in their own private moments.
Yeah.
You know,
chances are they're more insecure than you.
Just as much as you do,
if
even
not
though
more.
It's like we all have the same thought patterns. Yeah, that's the really kind of interesting balance that I think we're dealing with. Yeah. But that's what I've noticed too in talking to people over these last several years and trying to have more like real conversation is that we're all insecure in our own moments, no matter what. And we all share that.
Yeah. No,
all share it, you know? And I think it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing to feel like that sometimes. And I think we need to encourage everyone around us to just be more confident in who they are. You want to be as much of who you are as you can, and you want to learn how to be confident in who that is.
I also think that it's good to encourage, not necessarily encourage the behavior of being that insecure person, but encourage the behavior of discussing it. I think talking about things and sharing feelings is okay. I don't mean necessarily fishing. Like, there's one thing to ask somebody and just be, and like kind of fish and say like, oh, I look fat, or I look terrible this day. But like, if you have a significant other or somebody that you share things with, and you have like maybe more deeper conversations than your water cooler talks at work, I'd suggest, discussing things and just being like, I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling down about this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because sometimes just a positive outlook, because you can't be your own positive light all the time. And I'm learning to let go of that pride of thinking I have to pick myself up every time I'm down, and turning towards people I love or I care about that I know that can give me those positive vibes back.
Yeah. You got to find the right environment humans around you
Yes.
and know who you can trust to open up to about those certain
We've talked
moments.
about that before. Is your environment, your settings, like
Yeah.
the toxic people in your life? Who is toxic around you and who isn't? And are they holding you back? And are you allowing yourself to be held back by them?
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
huge. I've had to do a lot of self-reflection in the last 2 years about the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started doing the bodybuilding thing, it was such a weird lifestyle change for me. Because for a while now, for probably like 6 years now, I've been living a healthy lifestyle for the most part, like doing meal prep and eating and going to the gym religiously, at least once a day and doing my thing. But I wasn't having the results that I wanted to. And I had to decide for myself, do I want to take it to this next step? Do I want to take it to this next level and kind of really push my body to see what I can do to it? So I made that choice and I said that. And in the beginning it was cool. I didn't change a whole lot about my social life really. I kind of kept my social life the same, but I kept my regiment I kicked up my regiment, my nutrition and everything like that to the next level. So I was seeing results. But then I noticed there was one piece of the puzzle that was not really changing. It was my social life because I wasn't ready to give up my social life. And so I had all these people and all these friends that I was hanging out with religiously, but it was hindering my gains. Like not to sound like super douchey bro, but like it really was. Like my outside social life was like kind of holding me back physically. And I had to kind of cut ties with some of the people because there were some people I wasn't sure whether I could tell them that this is something I wanted to do. I was actually really insecure about this choice I made.
You're worried about the judgment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get judgment all the time now. Even still now from my friends, they still judge me and they still laugh at me. And it is what it is. But I've learned to deal with it better. But at the time, I didn't know how to handle it. And so there were some people that I didn't know how to tell. Some people I did tell. The people I did tell, I put the ball in their court. You know what I mean? I said, this is something I'm planning on doing. And they were like, okay, well, why are you telling me, kind of thing? Like they were kind of just inquisitive why I'm like kind of sharing that. And I was like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to go to these social events. I'm probably not going to be able to go out, for birthdays or things like that. I'm probably going to have to do this, that kind of thing. And probably half of them understood and half of them were just like, oh yeah. And they made a joke and they just kind of brushed it off.
Mm-hmm.
And, those relationships have fizzled over time a little bit. And I've learned about those people is that like I either care or I don't, because my life's going to continue, their life's going to continue, but they either support me and they try to find a way to see me or they don't. And then I realized the relationship was either it was that meaningful or it wasn't. And the thing is that something I always tell people all the time is that there's 7.2 billion people on the planet. 7.2 as of like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
There's billions of people.
So many people.
You know what I mean? It's going to be okay. It sucks because I might work with some of these people. I might see them on a constant basis, but it's not the end of the world. The ones that was really tricky for me was my roommates, actually, because they're the ones I didn't tell right away. And you'd think like, oh, that's kind of stupid. Why didn't you live with them? Why wouldn't you tell them? My roommates are my best friends. They're like my brothers. And to share this with them that I'm not going to be able to come out after the bar. Like most of my roommates have they're bartenders or they're servers. So they live that nightlife most of the time. Most of them are healthy and they're fit and everything like that too. They do their meal preps, they do their workout regimens, but they don't take that lifestyle to the level I do in that sense. You know what I mean? Like I had to cut out everything in social life. Yeah. No drinking, no anything.
Yeah. It's a different extreme.
It was a weird extreme, and it's one of those things that I wouldn't trade for the world, but you really I can't even express the weirdness that I felt throughout it unless you just went through it. You know what I mean? You just have to kind of just do it. So when they stopped seeing me at the bar a lot, or I kept kind of dodging their text messages. They'd say like, hey, we're going out. You want to meet us? And I'd be like, yeah, maybe. And then I'd kind of just be like, yeah, it's totally. It's absolutely what it was. Yeah. And, I'd text them later. I'd be like, I'm going to bed early and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So eventually there was like one time in the middle of my first prep for my first competition. And it was like kind of like a 4.5, 5 month prep kind of thing. In the middle of that one, I actually ended up going out for somebody's birthday. It was at the bar. And two of my roommates, they're like, hey, man, we haven't seen you in a long time. And, like, we miss you. Where you been? And I was like, well, to be honest, guys, I've been prepping for a show. I've been doing the bodybuilding thing. I've been trying to take that seriously. And they're like, oh, we had no idea. Why didn't you just tell us? They were super supportive. They were super into it. And they totally had my back. And that's when I felt stupid because I didn't give them a chance. I shut them down before they even had an opportunity. And I shut myself down because I was insecure about what I wanted to do.
Sure. You're at the beginning of it. You're nervous.
Yeah. But I learned from that moment that you can't shut anybody else down. You have to give everybody an opportunity to at least impress you or disappoint you. Because it's going to be one of the two. You have 50-50 chance that somebody's going to like you or they don't like you.
Yeah.
You have 50-50 chance that they're going to say yes, they're going to say no. Or every now and then you might get a maybe from me. But even then, that maybe for me is...
And it's a soft no.
Yeah, it's already a soft no.
But the good thing is that if you get to a point where you're confident enough in your own decisions for what you're doing, that it doesn't matter what they say. You just go, I'm going to let everybody have a chance to understand what I'm doing. And if you say no, that's cool. And if you say yes, awesome.
Perfect.
Like you get what I'm about. Here's my thing about like what true friends mean is that you can share something with them. And there's some people you talk to and you're like, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of not sure. But I think I'm going to try it. And the first thing they do is they go immediately to judgment. They go, oh, really? That's stupid. Or why would you do that? Oh, there's a million people doing that. They go to that place. Here's the kind of friends that I want, or here's the kind of people that I want to talk to. I want to say, hey, I'm thinking of trying this. And I don't know. I'm a little nervous, but I want to go for it and I'm excited about it. And they go, oh, that's cool. Why are you excited about it?
Yeah.
What's up with that? What's the first step? Or what do you like? Why? They're inquisitive.
Yes.
And they go into asking you about where you're coming from. It's like, that's how you get close to people too. When they want to know, they're like, oh, well, where's that coming from? They don't judge you or try to shut you down or send you down a negative path about that's ridiculous. Why would you try?
Because they're not putting themselves in that situation and saying, what would I do this? They're listening to you. They're saying, you're my friend. I care about you.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do it?
They care. They go, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
You want to try this? That's well, where's it coming from? Or they try to encourage you to do something that you're interested in. It's like, that's the kind of people I want to have around.
Totally.
And I think it's okay that, people come in and out of your life, right? And it's okay when some people slip out if it's not their time anymore. And it's okay if you find a new tribe. We go in and out, and that's completely okay. And I don't think it has to be a negative experience. I think it's about just making sure that you're constantly keeping the right people in your circle. But it's like if somebody comes to you with something and they're just talking to you, like ask questions. Don't judge them. Just say, where are you coming from?
Yes.
Like, I want to know about it and support them while they try something new. You know what I mean? I think that's where I've gotten to in my last couple of years of reflection.
That's good.
About the people around me.
Figuring out who's toxic, who's not, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to separate. It's the hardest thing. It's like pulling off a Band-Aid when you have to cut ties with that person that you've known for so long. But then when you realize that person has been so negative in your life for so long, it's so weird. I mean, you've been through those relationships. I've seen you go through those relationships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen that, but I've also seen the weight lifted off of you. And you're able to see that person for what they really should be and see them in their own light now. It's a beautiful thing. You've seen me go through it.
Yeah. No, I remember that conversation that we had where we talked about it and you were like, it's like you didn't even know me as a person really.
Yeah. Exactly. I learned a whole new side of you that I was never able to because of where your life was at that time. You know what I mean? It's very vulnerable. You're very, very much exposed when you're like that. But that's where the best things in life are that really shape a human being is when you're vulnerable, when you're exposed for what you really are.
God.
It's crazy.
Isn't that the truth, dude?
It's really crazy.
And I've always been really bad at vulnerability. And in the last several years, that's been the main focus for myself is to figure out how to be more open. And then if I share and I don't get quite the reception I want, that to just be confident enough in myself to be like, oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah.
At least I was honest with who I am. I think that's the most important part, Yeah. But yeah, that's cool. So let's delve into your process here.
So we've kind of touched on it. I'll just give you a little background bio of me.
Yeah.
So
you've not always been the most fittest of men.
No, I was a short little tubby tyke.
Please.
I swear to God. Okay, so I grew up in Arizona. And I was always really kind of short, right? I was always like, I swear to God, I was really short. Yeah.
Wait, how tall are you right now?
I'm 6'4" now. but I was really short growing up. So all through elementary school, middle school, I had like kind of pudgy, had no friends really. I had no personality, right? Like even in grade school, I was like super ADD. This was right when ADD was like first getting diagnosed. So they like put me on meds right away.
Oh yeah.
Just slapped me full of
It
drugs.
was the hype. It
Yeah.
was the hype.
Yeah, my mom was like freaking out. She's like, "What do we do?" And
He's got too much energy.
the doctor is just like, "We don't have any more fidget spinners, so we'll just give him some drugs." And then, but it turned me into a zombie. So my mom was just like, "Okay, cut that shit out. Get him off the drugs. He's freaking weird now." So they just kind of like, it was just what it was. I was just a hyper kid, but I had no friends really. I didn't really get along with a lot of people. Troubles in school because like no teacher knew what to do with me. So I hate doing this sob bullshit story, but growing up, it was a little weird for me. I like kind of like no, I don't know. I didn't have friends. I didn't have like an outlet. I had no outlet is actually probably the best example of what my growing up was until I got to high school. But I had no outlet, no interest, no hobbies. Tried a couple sports here, not really good at anything. Freshman year came around high school, still really short. I was probably like 5'8", which I realize is like
all of the 5'8" men listening right
yeah,
now.
I
like,
realize
really,
that. I'm
dude?
sorry, guys. I realize that that's like kind of average, but when you're like in my family, that's not average. Everybody
Oh,
in
you
my
have a
family is
giant
kind of
family.
tall. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm still, but I'm like pudgy. I'm like really heavy, like for my size, and it was like a weird time in my life. Fast forward, I started to get into drumming. Actually, I started getting into like music, and I was finding my niche. Right, joined the drum line in high school, and I found drums. And my family, like my friends, they were all in the drum line. It was my passion, right? So I finally find my niche. I find my groove, some confidence, and it's something that I'm actually good at and something I enjoyed doing. Then between junior year and senior year, I shot up like 6 inches over summer. Like 6 inches. I lost all my fat.
Living
I
the
was
dream.
just like a skinny twig, but like I was tall. And then I started to like actually like have confidence, and girls were talking to me. People were talking to me. I grew a personality through my friends because we all joked around and we played pranks on each other and bantered and stuff. So I was developing my own human being in like a rapid rate. So it was really kind of weird for me because I feel like most people kind of develop themselves at an early age, like we were talking about, like they kind of have that life. They grow up through, elementary school and middle school, but they do it based on like activities or people that they interact with. You kind of find your niche, your mold, or who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I found mine really late in the game. I felt like really quickly, but very late. So it was kind of a weird feeling. But then after that, I went to school outside of after high school. I went to vocational school for audio engineering. So music was my life right at this time. So music was my passion. Loved recording music. I loved drums, and I knew I wasn't going to be like a rock star drummer. So I figured I might as well do something where I can actually enjoy recording music, but I can also be a part of music and being part of the creative process. So I did that. Part of graduation process, you have to go do an internship at like a studio of your choice around the country. So I came out here to San Diego. So all this time, right, I'm like skinny. I'm skinny. I'm 6'4". I have my confidence and everything like that.
Yeah, all you need is skinny and 6'4".
Yeah.
You're set up good.
Right. Everything seems fine, right? Then I ended up meeting this girl. I moved in with her. We're playing house. I have 4 dogs with her. I was in a situation at 20 years old. 20 years old. I had no business doing this.
Yeah, you were children.
Oh, yeah. We're delving into my little fuck
Do
up
it.
moments in life. So I ended up meeting this girl. We're playing house. We're renting a house and everything. And I just had no business being there. I didn't know anything about relationships. Again, I'm getting all this confidence and all this this personality in like such a short amount of time. Within a couple years, I'm like kind of figuring out who I am. And it ends up not working out between us. But in all this time, I wasn't even noticing it, but she's feeding me really well. So I got really fat. Again, I put on all that baby weight that I lost in like a summer, like in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I got like fat again. So I got up to, I think the heaviest I was 235 at 6'4". So to a lot of people, that doesn't sound that bad, but I'm telling you, it was not in any way like fitness like at all. I was pudgy. Yeah. Really pudgy. I had like huge love handles, a belly, like man boobs and everything like that. Like, and so, you know what? Like the kicker was a party that we were at. The party at Michelle's house, the pool
Yes,
party. You
dude.
remember that?
Yeah, with the above ground pool.
Yeah.
And we were neon. Is it Cowboys and Aliens?
Yeah, Cowboys and Aliens.
Cowboys and Aliens. Dude.
Yeah. And
we had all
Nate
that
was in
neon
that
stuff.
full on alien freaking onesie suit.
That was an epic moment in our lives that night.
Yeah. So when I met all you guys, I wasn't like super close with everybody. That was like a kind of like a fun party for me to go to because I met everybody for the first time.
Yeah.
First time hanging out. But that party was a trigger for me that none of you guys realized. That was a trigger for me that I hated the way I felt about myself. At that time, I was just partying and stuff. I had broken up with that girl who I'd gotten fat with.
Right.
Probably blamed her a little bit for it. But I ended up just having a lot of angst and like I was just angry and I was partying. I wasn't doing anything healthy with my life. I had music at this time. So I finally found like my outlet and things like that. But I wasn't doing anything with my physical or mental health. I only had like the thing I was passionate about, but nothing to really better myself physically, like externally kind of thing, or mentally to like calm myself with the emotions and things I was going through. So I'm at this party and I see the pictures the next day.
Yeah.
It was a great party. I had a fun time, but I see the pictures of me with my shirt off and I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. I just hated it because
I remember you seeing those pictures though, and you and feeling your reaction from them.
yeah.
And you were making jokes about it or whatever, but I'm like, I'm sure, but I feel like it bothers him. I could sense that.
It did.
Yeah.
It really bothered me because it's not like I didn't have fun and we all had a great time and stuff. And it wasn't something I was thinking about in the moment, but seeing it later, it really kind of brought up this one insecurity I've always had growing up. I've always had since I became tall. I hate the fact that I'm tall because I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb. I feel like in a room, no matter what room I walk into, if a door opens, people look over. But no matter what, they look at me.
Attention
they draw attention because they look at me. They can see me from a mile away.
Yeah, you can't hide.
It's kind of weird to me. That's an insecurity don't really talk about to a lot of people, but that's an insecurity that I have is that like people can see me from any direction. They can see me and they're always looking at me and I'm kind of wondering like, what are they thinking about me, you know?
Yeah.
That's the fat kid inside me just kind of creeping out at times.
Sure.
So when I noticed those pictures, when I saw that, I was just like, God, I'm just a tall, fat guy now. There's like I didn't see anything worth value in me. And granted, that's a low self-esteem issue. And I had other issues going on at the time, but that's a low point in my life where I had to say like, okay, I got to do something. I have to do something about this. So
that's a very healthy reaction to have though.
Yeah, I think
you
so.
want to think, I have to do something.
Yes. I think that's probably the best thing that came out of that whole situation was that I saw myself in my worst place. And granted, the feelings I had towards myself probably weren't the healthiest. You know, the things that you say to yourself or the things that you're just like, oh, you're a piece of crap or this or that. However, the reaction that you have and what you do afterwards can be the healthiest thing that you do. You can make the right healthy decision after you've had your little rant. You have to make that choice. And some people don't choose to do that.
Because they think they're trapped.
Yep.
They think they're stuck. And because this is how it is right now, this is how it always has to be.
Right.
And it's like, no, if you're feeling those things, well, hey, what's the next step? How do I change it?
Yep. They feel stuck or they just choose to delve into the negativity and then they do more unhealthy things. You know what I mean? They think there's no way I'm going to fix this. So I'm just going to start doing meth now too.
Yeah.
They just stack it all together.
Where do we learn that? Where do we learn that that's a, like,
I don't know.
Because that's an illogical response. Yeah. Really.
I think that's partly a cultural thing. I think it's partly because we're so negative as people, but then on top of it, it's very easy to get certain things here. It's very easy to get like into those negative routes here.
Sure.
Everything about our culture feeds negativity for the most part. You have to dig to find positive things, I think.
That's where the importance of the people you keep around you is and what you consider the important things in your life to be.
Yeah. So after that, when I saw those pictures, I was just like, okay, I got to do something about this. So a buddy of mine at the time, he's now my roommate as well. I approached him. And I remember the day I approached him because I was with my other friend, Aaron, and we both were just like, yeah, I want to. And Aaron was always skinny. He was never like, he was always trim. He was never like fat, I don't think. And he always looked good, but he wanted to like put on some muscle. And our friend Clinton, he actually had always been working out. His mom is a personal trainer. She's been a personal trainer in Mammoth forever. She's an awesome lady. She knows her stuff. And he'd just grown around that lifestyle. His entire life has been about sports. And pretty much working out and keeping healthy and keeping fit. And that was something I had never had in my life. I'd never had that structure from anyone in my family. No one in my family had ever been healthy. Not that they were like completely unhealthy or overweight or this or
Yeah.
that, but they had never had that. It was just never existent. So I talked to him about it. I was just like, dude, like, what can I do? Can you help me? And he's like, yeah, why don't you just come to the house one time? And at the time he was living with a couple other people, but they had like a little homemade gym inside. It was like this rusty old
I
fucking
remember
weights,
that.
dude. It was nuts. There's bullshit and
I was like,
trash
y'all
all over
gonna
the
hurt yourselves.
Yes, you had to get a tetanus shot just to start working with this stuff. It was so gross. But so I showed up one day in the afternoon after work, and we just went through everything. He just showed me every single muscle group. He showed me about 2 to 3 exercises per muscle group, things I can do. Did them with me there. We spent like 2 hours in the garage, and I wrote everything down on a piece of paper, and I kept that paper for the longest time. I need to find it, but just wrote everything down that I could. And from there, I just ran with it. I just started every day, just figuring out what I could do, looking up online, talking to Clinton again, seeing if there's different like little splits or muscle groups that I can do together. And I wasn't really focusing on the diet aspect at that time, but I was really just focusing on if I can get myself into a regiment of physically moving my body, if I can get myself physically active, then maybe I have a chance of fixing this. Maybe
Yeah.
I have a chance of doing something. And that's what I did for about a year. I was just doing that stuff, and I saw a lot of results. I dropped a ton of weight. I
Makes
cleaned.
you feel better
Yeah,
moving your body.
yeah. It really, really does. It's so hard in the beginning. The first 2 weeks are probably one of the most difficult things when you're out of a rhythm, because you just got to get over that hump. You just got to push through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You feel good whenever you leave. You always do. Whether you're in pain or not, you always feel good when you leave because you know you worked your ass off.
Yep.
There's something about earning that check at the end of the payday. You know what I mean? It's the same thing when you go to work and you earn that money. You feel good about that sense of pride. It's the same feeling I get when the gym, you know?
That's kind of why it's nice to do in like the early part of the day,
Mm.
you know, because you're like, you got it over with. You're like, oh, I'm good. I find that I do more than I even plan to do.
Those are the best workouts, when you surprise yourself, when you push yourself. You know what I mean?
But you just got to start.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Half the battle's just showing up.
Absolutely.
So I did that for about a year, found my niche, found my rhythm, and everything was cool. Finally started to kind of feeling myself into my own skin, right? You know, my grandma used to say that all the time. She's like, you just need to be comfortable in your own skin. And I never knew what that meant until, a few years ago, where you're just finally growing into yourself. You find the thing that you're passionate about. You find your confidence and everything. It was really cool. You know what I mean? I finally found that. So then fast forward a little bit and getting a little bit more progressive with my workouts and everything. And that's when I meet a natural bodybuilder at work, and actually just started talking to him. And there's something about weightlifting that was always intriguing to me, even when I was at a young age. My dad used to always tell me, he's like, Andy, if you just lifted, if you just worked out, you'd be surprised what your body can do. Because my dad is, for some reason, he's like Merlin or Nostradamus or something. He's got this like forward sight that's so weird. He's so wise and insightful at times. He always saw potential in me.
It's called a solid parent.
Yeah. It's like freaking weird, dude. Like, I hope I get that when I have kids, dude. I hope I
Yeah.
can see that. But like, he always just like kind of knew like the right thing, even if it wasn't at that time, but he always knew if I found this thing later in life that it would be the thing that I love. It would be something that would stick with me. He always just knew that about me. And he was just always so connected like that. But he always used to tell me, Andy, if you just worked out, you'd be huge. You'd be jacked if you just did it. If you just go out and do it. And I never did it. I didn't do it until I was like fucking 23 years old. I waited all that time to heed his advice. And he's right. Like, I saw these crazy results with myself. And I'm realizing now that my body has so much potential to do this sport. Now that I'm about 5 to 7 years into this now, and I'm kind of like pushing myself to that limit. It has this potential to do it genetically. And I just never knew that about myself. You have to just see it for yourself. So when I was first working out those first few years, I wanted to push myself to that next level. I wanted to see what I could really, really do. And I kept my dad's words in the back of my head. Just, if you just lift, if you do a little bit more. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take it to the next level. I want to see what dad really meant by that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started talking to my competitor friend. He started getting me on a program with, it's called the company is called Tri-System Nutrition, and it's the coach that I go to. He's my dietitian. He's my nutritionist. He's my He facilitates like any sort of workouts if I need new workouts or things like that. And then he has guys that can show me how to pose. So I go to them. Tri-System Nutrition is the name of the company. The coach's name is Jeff Cotterman. He's been doing this about 27 years. So he knows his stuff about nutrition. And he showed me a whole new world with nutrition that I never knew about. Like, yeah, you can eat brown rice and chicken and broccoli like fucking 4 times a day, but you want to put a bullet in your head at the end of that day too. And then and it's not fun at that point. But he showed me a side of nutrition to where you can make these boring meals a little bit more fun, or you can have a few boring meals and then you get those really cool meals at the beginning or end of your day and just spice things up and really just push your macros, which your macros are, your base macros are proteins, carbs, and fats. You can really make those things fun and you can really make those things work to your advantage rather than just keeping it so boring. And like people think it has to be so bland and it doesn't need to be that. I have some like fun foods and I actually eat a lot. Everybody thinks that part of the sport is starving yourself.
Yeah, you eat a lot and it makes me upset.
I eat, when I'm bulking, you guys, I eat about 4,500 calories a day. And even on my cuts, like when I'm in like prep mode for like a show, I'm still eating like 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day. That's like enough food for 2 people. I'm still eating that much. So it's not even about starving yourself. I mean, I can't say that for everybody. Some people's conditions, yes, they need to deplete a lot more just based on their body type. But for me, I don't have to starve myself. I'm eating 3,500 calories as opposed to like 4,500. So yeah, I'm probably a little cranky, but that's just me being a little bitch. So now you know that, you can just tell me to shut up next time that happens.
But it's like a matter of like, but you're eating probably healthier.
Yes.
It's still a good amount of food, so you're not going to feel hungry.
Yes.
Because people are worried about feeling hungry. They feel like they're just going to have to eat celery and carrot sticks all the time. Or
And it's like it's not really going to be like that in that sense. But again, to go back to Jeff though, what he showed me was that it doesn't need to be like that. He can keep you feeling full throughout most of the day. He can make you so that you're hitting all your macros and everything is custom to your body. That's the beauty of him, is that when you go to him, you have an entire binder. He does a body comp analysis on you, a complete body composition. So he says, these are your, do you have any allergic allergies? Do you have any of these? Do you have any dietary needs? Blah, 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 everything. And he'll make you a personalized menu and a complete body comp. He pinches your body in 10 different locations, puts that into his own algorithm that he's built, and he can tell you a body fat percentage that is just under what hydrostatic weighing is. And hydrostatic weighing is where you go into those little dunk tanks and there's a scale on there and it measures your body fat. That's the most accurate way on this planet to measure your body fat percentage. His method is like just underneath that. So you're within literally 0.5%, maybe even less, when you're getting his pinches. And that's what I loved about him, was that he gives you a full-on spreadsheet. This is your stats. This is where you were last time we pinched, and this is where you're going. He can tell you your water weight that you're holding. He can tell you your fat that you're holding in weight. And then he measures each muscle too. And then he can break all that down and really watch and progress your numbers. And that's what I loved about it, was that I never did that on my own. That's when I knew that this was, I got to get serious about this. So when I did that, he kicked it up to the next notch for me. And that's when I was like, this is something I'm going to do. When I did that, that was in November of 2015. And then I did my first show that I ever did was September of 2016. So that was like almost a year long prep.
God, you didn't feel like that.
It went kind of quick, actually. Yeah, it was weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and again, I had ups and downs. I had times where like I had to. That's the time where I was telling you guys that I had to kind of cut my social life in the beginning there. I didn't know how to balance it at all. Did my first show, which was in September, and I won overall. I won the whole thing. I won the overall best in show. I won best poser, which is the funniest award in the world. Best poser. And then I won my category as well. So everything's separated into different categories. And I did what's called classic physique. It's kind of like, it's a category that they made that to pay homage to like the golden era, like 70s bodybuilders like Arnold, Lou Ferrigno, Frank Zane.
That's exciting.
It's really kind of cool because it's a new category. It's only been around for like 4 years or something like that. And it's one of those categories where it does show your legs. I'm not like in a thong or anything, but like the traditional bodybuilding is. No. I know everybody would like to see that though. But you do show your legs. You're in like these kind of like short shorts, and then you obviously show your top half. But it was fun. It was like a cool experience. I was doing something that was kind of new to the sport in general, like a new category kind of thing. And yeah, I felt,
I was gonna say, how do you feel after that? How do
oh
you
my God,
feel
I was not ready for it.
when you've done that much work and you've cut out so much in your life to then do this competition and then actually be really successful? What is the feeling that comes after that?
You're like on top of the world. It felt really, I don't know. I have this weird thing, and this is another thing that I'm trying to kick, right? Another little like habit that I kick. It was like I immediately went back and asked myself, do I deserve it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
You know, you ask yourself, did I work hard enough for this? And I did that for like probably for that night, for that whole night. I kind of just sat there. I mean, the first thing I did, I ate literally 6 donuts right after the show. I ate 6 donuts. And I went to
I've
BJ's
earned
and
it.
I ate a whole pizza from BJ's and a whole Pizookie all on my
There
own.
you go.
I'm not even joking you. But I did. I questioned it. I questioned whether I really earned it. And I questioned whether I really deserved it. And that was like really, that's the super negative side of things that I'm like, everything's learning. I'm trying to kick that habit. I'm trying to just be like, just stop.
We
Thinking like
overthink.
that.
We overthink.
Just stop thinking that. And eventually came to terms, and I saw pictures and I was like, no, I did earn it. I know I did. I worked my ass off. I looked the best out of all the guys there. I know I looked the best there. And that was when I finally came to terms with that. That's when EastonFit was birthed after that in my mind. Everybody kept telling me that they're like, dude, you have like a face. You should like model. You should do something like that. You should do this or that. Like, you know, are you going to personal train? What is your goal like now? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't really know what I want to do, because I wasn't really done with the competing side of it. I really wanted to compete again, because after that show, I qualified to go to nationals for my organization, which I did do. I went to nationals after that, and I got second in my category. And after that, then you qualified to go to the Olympia for our organization. Now, our organization's small. It's called the INBA. It's the International Natural Bodybuilding Association. So the reason why I chose that one is because I'm natural. The only things I take are over-the-counter supplements.
Yeah.
I don't do steroids. I don't do any sort of human growth hormone, or, you know what I mean? Anything like that. I don't do that stuff.
You're just physical fitness and healthy diet.
Yep. And there's a lot of organizations where they claim they test, but they don't. So there's a lot of juicing going on, and it runs rampant in this industry. I've thought about it. Don't get me wrong. I've wanted to do it. I mean, I've had conversations with you when I was first getting into fitness. And I was like, God, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I just want to see some results. It's too easy. It's so easy. Like, I know people at the gym that I go to that I could ask them tomorrow if to just get some shit, and they'll give me steroids tomorrow if I really wanted to. It's so easy to do, and it works. It really does work. That's the thing, is that like I can't dress it up and say, oh well, it's not going to work, or you might have this or that. It'll work.
Yeah.
There are side effects, of course.
Yeah.
There are side effects with everything that you do. I've seen it because I see I have close friends that do it, and I see them when they're pre-cycle and they're post-cycle. So when you're doing a cycle, it's usually in increments of 4 weeks, right? So if you're on a cycle of steroids, it's usually going to be like, let's say like 8 to 12 weeks is usually a typical cycle. So that means that they're using this drug for 8 to 12 weeks. And then after that, they'll probably take 8 to 12 weeks and do a post-cycle. The post-cycle is going to be like hormone therapy drugs to basically regulate their estrogen and testosterone levels. Because after you take an influx of testosterone, let's say you're taking a testosterone-based steroid, your body is going to stop producing testosterone naturally. It just will stop, because it's like, well, I see there's already too much here. I'm not going to do it anymore.
I've got enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's where the ball, like the testicle shrinkage usually comes from. I don't know. I've never seen everybody else's testicles, but we've all heard stories. So like, I don't know if it happens to everybody. I don't know what the rate of which it happens to everybody. I can't answer that, but it does happen. It does happen to some people. And what you have to do is, after that cycle, after you're using, you have to take a post cycle so you can balance it out, so you can get your body naturally producing that testosterone again and naturally producing that estrogen again.
Yeah.
So there's a whole science behind it. So to me, to be honest, like it's kind of amazing that there is a science behind it. There is technically a right and wrong way to do it. And anybody that argues that with you and tells you like, oh, no matter what, it's wrong. Yes, it's wrong ethically to you. But There is a way to do it scientifically with little to no side effects. It's usually the more expensive drugs because there is a wide range of testosterone or of steroids that you can buy. Like there's good shit and then there's bad shit. But there is a right and wrong way to do it and to take it. And a lot of times, most of these guys that are taking it, they're taking it when their body is not fully matured. So we're talking like guys that are 21 years old where their bodies and their muscles aren't even mature yet. They haven't even seen their body's full potential yet.
Mm-hmm.
B, they're taking way too much of it. All these bros and PB and shit like that, and you see all that acne on their back. They're just they're pinning themselves like crazy, like taking way too much of it. And they're already young, so they don't even need that much anyways. They're already full of testosterone. So they're just being stupid with it. They're being careless with it. And then
we don't respect our body chemistry.
No, nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
No, but everybody pushes it. I'm guilty of it too. I think because I'm 6'4" and I'm tall that I need to take the double dosage of like Tylenol. I'm crazy with that.
I take way more Tylenol.
Yeah, so it's a good thing I don't do steroids. I would be stupid with it. Oh, I need like 5 of these.
Yeah, I'm tall, so I'm gonna need twice.
But yeah, we don't respect the body, like the body chemistry, like you said. Like people, we're very cavalier with it for sure.
Yeah, I think the body is smarter than we get it credit for
really
sometimes.
It's very intuitive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
you've avoided that life.
I've avoided that life, and like I said, I think about it from time to time. I always think about it because my body's potential would be limitless with it. I would see crazy results very quickly. But there's always a post cycle. And that post cycle is when I see those guys when they start to deflate. It's like their skin is like kind of it's stretched out from all the muscle it had before.
Yeah.
And you immediately, when you stop taking, it's within weeks that you see like a huge size decrease. It's very quick. Like you lose it very quickly. So those guys, their skin kind of looks like saggy. And it's because the muscle filled it out before, but now it's not there. So they just kind of get a little saggy and stuff. Yeah. They're still probably strong. They're still pretty big, but they don't look tight like they did. They don't look as good as they did.
Sure.
And I can see them all the time.
And aren't we visual these days?
Oh, we're very visual.
Yeah.
We're all wearing stringers and everything's exposed.
Little tank tops.
Yeah, our little tiny little man tank tops. But yeah, so I don't do that. And this organization, International Natural Bodybuilding Association, or INBA, they heavily test for that stuff. The reason why I wanted to go to that organization was it was a good chance for me to put myself against someone else who's of the same caliber, who's natural as well. Like you can look at these guys and they're all in great shape, but I can look at them and know, hey, that guy is not, he's natural. He is not juicing.
Yeah.
It's a fair advantage. It's a good pound for pound test to see like where you stand against other people. That being said, it's not nearly as popular. It's not nearly as big. It's not nearly as respected.
Well, it's harder, right?
It's not that even that it's harder. It's just that all these guys that are juicing, they can just go to another organization, which is called NPC. NPC stands for the National Physique Committee. That is like the big dogs. That's the big show, right? Because most of the guys that are juicing, most of them are super ripped. They're really big. But those are the shows that you can get paid. You know what I mean? You get guaranteed money most of the time when you win.
Okay.
There's a lot more fame and glory. It's just it's a much more higher popularity in terms of platform. And then you have the big show, which is called IFBB. That's like what Arnold and Lou Ferrigno did. That's been around since the 20s or 30s, I think. But that stands for International Federation of Bodybuilding. It's worldwide. And it's like the professionals, and NPC is like a step below that. It's like the baby sister version of that. You know what I mean? There's not as much money circulating with it. It's just not as big. It will never be on the same caliber, same level as those other ones, unfortunately. I don't know. It's one of those things where I enjoy being there. I enjoy competing with them, but I kind of want to test myself on that higher caliber, that higher level. A goal of mine is to strive to compete in NPC, the National Physique Committee. I want to compete on that level because I know there are natural people that go there.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you have to step outside of a natural place to go into that arena?
You don't have to. Mm-hmm. They just don't test. They don't care if you.
Okay.
That's the thing about that. They just don't test. So like those guys that are juicing, they don't give a shit.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They're not going to really test. They say they do, but they really don't. But I do know some natural people that compete in them. I've met a few of them. They're cool guys and everything like that. And some of them I'm like looking at them like, dude, it's going to be a waste of money. Do you really want to go do it? But they're like, no, I've committed to do it. And I'm like, all right, all power to you. I just wanted to let you know, like, these guys are huge. But if you got to do it, you got to do it. So I'm going to go
These guys
support.
are next level.
I support you. But then I know some other guys that are like, they look good for being natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like borderline, I'm like questioning, are you really natural? But they claim they are, so I'll take their word for it.
Sure.
I give everybody a chance until they prove me
It's a
wrong.
matter of genetics sometimes, huh?
Yeah, genetics play a huge role in this sport. You know what I mean? I hate using it as a crutch because I feel like there's a lot of genetic flaws that I have that I'm trying to battle, and I don't want to use those to hinder me or hold me back.
Mm-hmm.
But genetics do play a big toll. Not even genetic necessarily, but if you have like diabetes, this is a really hard sport for you to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just dietary needs wise.
Yeah. Or just a matter of some people gain muscle really easily.
For sure.
Some people retain weight easily. Some people lose weight really easily. Yeah. I mean, certain things grow bigger on people than others. Yep. And
yeah, it's really it's interesting to see people's genetics, and everybody has their little flaws in themselves that they always talk about. For me, my chest is my biggest flaw. I wish my chest could get bigger, but it can't. I do everything I can, and it's made some serious like progress, but I work on it all the time. That's like something for me. That's like my little bugaboo. But yeah, everybody's genetics is a little bit different, and that's probably the coolest thing about this sport too, is just seeing the different advantages some people have, or the different like kind of flaws you can see in people, and like how it helps them or hinders them in that sense. But I know some people that are natural that go and compete in NPC, and I haven't seen anybody win, but they go in to compete. I saw a guy take third the last show I was at in his competition. And his category, his class was really stacked. There were some really good looking people there that were really big, and they were really, really ripped. But he did great. His conditioning was great. And it's kind of like, it's always the luck of the draw with these competitions, because there's different judges most of the time you go. So you never know who you're going to get. You don't know what they're in the mood for.
Yeah, there's a little bit of subjectivity there.
It's super biased. This whole sport is super biased.
What are they into? What do they like?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, it feels like every other show it's different. Sometimes they're looking for like the most lean guy. Sometimes they're looking for the biggest guy. Sometimes they're looking for the guy with the biggest shoulders, the tiniest waist.
Ratio.
Legs. It's weird, yeah.
That's a little bit genetic too, though, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
If you're naturally a little bit broader in the shoulder, tinier in the waist.
This is going to sound really racist, but like the Filipino guys, they have the tiniest waists and the broadest shoulders and the huge, like a lot of my friends are Filipino, and they just have that perfect upside down triangle look. They're perfect specimens for these types of bodybuilding competitions.
Yeah.
And there's a category that's just called physique, men's physique. And it's the one where they wear the board shorts. It's the most popular category that most people do nowadays, because they don't have to work their legs. Most guys don't want to train their legs, so you can just put on a pair of board shorts and your legs aren't even judged.
Leg day.
I know. I've recently come to like it in the last couple of years.
Hey.
Yeah. Once I saw my butt and my legs grow, then I was like, all right, I'll keep doing this.
Here goes your vanity again.
Yeah, I know. It's seeping. But I actually tried men's physique at this last show that I just did a show on middle of June, and I did not place how I wanted to. I was really pissed about it. It's kind of bitter. And the reason why I was really mad was because I did a new category. I did men's physique, so I did the competition with the board shorts, and I just did it because I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try a different category, because all last year, the 3 shows I did classic physique. So I was showing my legs, and I just wanted to kind of get my feet wet, try a different new category. But I was in the best conditioning I had. I was the biggest I've ever been. I was diced. I was at 4.5% body fat. I looked the best I have ever looked. And I knew it. And there were some guys there that looked pretty good as well. But I kind of knew I won. You know what I mean? I did my normal check where I immediately said, oh, I didn't do good. I did like right afterwards, after the pre-judging. So what happens is you go in for the day, you do pre-judging, which is symmetry. They ask you to do quarter turns. You're all standing in a line, and they're literally just looking at you and you're judging you, and they call out certain poses. So they'll say quarter turn to the right, and they're looking at your back, your front, your side. Then they'll ask you to do like a front double bi, which is like where you just flex your 2 biceps essentially. They'll ask you to show your abs. They'll ask you a couple different things, show your side chest and everything. So you do all that, and it's like you're just standing there with like 5 other dudes, and they're just judging you.
Just being a piece of meat.
Yeah. and you're standing there and you're smiling at them. They want you
Right.
to smile at the judges. So you're just
Sure.
smiling at them as they're just judging you. You're like, oh my God.
Sounds stressful.
It is a little stressful because you're all oiled up and you're tan and like you have like your fake bronze tan.
Super
and
tan.
and you're like trying not to sweat so your tan doesn't run down. I've seen that a lot actually, where guys'
Oh.
tans run. You're just like, oh no, you poor thing. Somebody get him a towel or a paintbrush. And I one time I walked out there with a roller. I rolled him right out.
Let me just fix that for you. Okay.
So you do all that and they judge you. And then, so right after all the prejudging, I kind of did my immediate check where I was like, no, you fucked this up. You did this bad, blah, blah, blah. And then I was looking at everybody backstage and I was looking at the guys that I went against. And I was like, I actually think I have a chance here. I think I got it. I think I either got second or I got first. I knew it was one of the two because the guy that ended up getting first, really nice guy. I actually talked to him afterwards. He was super humble. He was a really, really nice guy. I really liked him. But I knew I was bigger than him. He was really lean, but I knew I was bigger than him. And I knew I was posing better with him. So it comes down to overall body symmetry. It comes down to your conditioning. So like how lean you are and everything like that. Your muscularity, like your size of your muscles. And then also like your posing, your overall presentation.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you have the best body, but you don't know how to pose it or demonstrate it in the proper way, you'll get docked points for that. It looks stupid. If you know how to pose really well, you don't have the best body, then you're going to get docked points for that. So after all those facts, I kind of just knew I had either second or first. So after prejudging, you go and they take a break and you come back for the final show. The final show is where you do one last review of your routine. Everybody comes out and then they do awards. And with the physique, your routine is a T-walk. You come out, it's kind of like a model runway. It's really weird. So you come out, you do like your first line up the center stage and you do a pose. You go to the left, do a pose, go to the right, do a pose, and then back at center and do another pose. So we did all that. And I ended up getting fourth place. I was super bummed. I was super, super bummed. And I want to say that it was super humbling, but it really wasn't. It was really, really, really bittersweet because I knew I should have done better. And that was the first time I've ever in my life given myself that credit. I've never, ever given myself that credit.
Like I genuinely.
I know I should have done better because I've never done that. I've always cut myself down first before anybody else gave myself the chance, because if I cut myself down first, it's not going to hurt as bad as somebody does, right? I always try to
self-deprecating.
Yeah, always. And this is the first time I ever in my life was just like, no, I should have won that. I know I should have.
It's like, what do you do when you're in these kind of subjective kind of situations?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what their rationale is. I can't make that decision. I can't, and you're not going to like contest it on stage. All I could do is I shook everybody's hand on that stage. Yes. And the guy who won, like I said, he was super nice. I gave him a hug and everything like that. Like he deserved to win in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong. He was super nice. But I'm not going to freak out there. I'm not going to be a poor sport. You know what I mean? I just did the best you could. You just smile and you take your photo.
You have to think about what you can control and what you can't control.
Can't control it.
You can control what you do in your preparation and how you show up and everything like that. But otherwise, what can you do? So now my thought is, you're in this process and you're in this sport that's so based on physicality, right? And just that is just based on your physical presence.
Yeah.
Now, how does this relate in the sense to you maturing, and you're talking about you growing up and being more self-aware, and you're thinking about your emotional state, and you're thinking about your mental state. Yeah. And then this is just really based on physicality.
Yeah.
You know, which is one part of the thing, but all the other two parts are huge.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when you get to the final show, it's all about the physical aspect, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all outer when you get to the show. But the moments leading into the show, so the entire preparation up until that time is all internal. Like, yes, you're judging your outside as you go and you're looking at your body change, and those changes are really crazy. It's magnificent to see your body every day fluctuate and change when you're on this crazy of an intense prep. But I think some of the most vital growth is internal throughout that whole process, because you get to see your mental state. Your mental state is completely messed up during this. You're up, you're down, you're tired, you're hungry, you're cranky, but all you can think about is, I made this goal. I told myself I'm going to do this. I told myself I did this. And one trick that I learned too about if anybody's listening and they want to, how do they complete goals better? Something else that I had to learn, tell people about it. Tell people about your goal. If you tell people I'm going to do this, you're going to set this weird layer of accountability. Yes. You're going to set this accountability and you're going to put it into someone else's hands, because not everybody's going to give a shit about what you're doing. You know what I mean? It goes back to that toxic lifestyle. Some people are going to support you. Some people that won't.
But some people have to call you out when you're not doing it.
Oh yeah, they will.
They love to do that.
And when you hear that, you're going to kick right back into gear the minute that you can.
You got to tell people sometimes.
Yeah. And that was something I never used to do in the beginning. And I realized that my intensity changed when I started telling people about this competition. Because remember I first told you, I didn't tell anybody at the beginning. Yeah. So I left the accountability on myself, and that was enough at the time. You know what I mean? My intensity and my passion, my ferocity was really, really high at that time. But that can only go so far on your own. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask them for anything. I didn't say like, hey, I need you to hold me accountable. But it was kind of like, they're going to do it anyways. Because like you said, people are either going to judge you, or they're going to bring it up that when you're not on it, they're going to check in with you randomly. You know what I mean? They're going to just say like, hey, how's this going? This kind of thing. The one thing I loved all the way, and I still get it through preps that I do now. The one thing I always get is like, are you allowed to eat that? That's like a
other
weird.
People want to check you. They're like, you don't know my diet.
Yeah. That's like the weirdest backhanded accountability thing that I get on a daily basis.
Yeah,
like, are you allowed to eat that? And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
I know, it's kind of funny.
But those types of things are kind of good, because it keeps reality it keeps you on your toes, right?
Sure.
And you keep all those things in check. So throughout the entire prep, you have all this internal accountability and this internal goal setting right here. And you told yourself, I'm going to get here. I'm going to get to this day. I have to do this day. You grow so mentally and spiritually in some ways during that process, because you come really close with yourself. Because again, there's going to be a lot of people that fade out of your life. And you're going to be kind of very lonely during this process. It's very solitary, this life. It's not like you're going to the gym and you're just having fun with your friends and everything, and you get to eat all this fun food all the time and everything. It's not like that all the time.
We gotta have people around you that are like, even though you can't eat this pizza or get wasted with us, we still want to have you around.
Yeah. And it's going to be very small. That fraction of your friend group is going to be very small. But there'll be some people. And
it's kind of nice, though. It's kind of nice to figure out who those people are.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to have that accountability, too, to share. Like, I do that with myself, too. Like, if I have something I want to do, I like to tell people now, because it also helps me fight through the fear of it. Because it doesn't mean that I'm completely comfortable with it yet. I mean, I'm going to fight some nervousness. I'm going to fight some discomfort and some fear. But if I've got other people that know about it, it's an extra level of me like, I have to.
You have to.
I have to step up.
They're counting on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That kind of like that. I'm reminded of Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker that I like to listen to. But he kind of has a speech about the lion hunting, right? You know what I mean? When you're hunting for something, like people are depending on you. When a lioness is going out to find food, she's not finding food for herself. She's finding food for her pride. You know what I mean? When you have that intensity, when you have that ferocious intensity that I have to do this because somebody's counting on me back home, you're able to do some crazy shit. Yeah. It's like adrenaline when the heat of the moment's coming. It can push you into some crazy stuff.
And then it's bigger than you.
Yes.
And it's that sense of, like I said, we're taught to be kind of solo in this society and to do everything for ourselves. But I feel like as people, we want to have this community. Mm-hmm. We want to have other people that we're doing stuff for. We want to have the people that are close to us. So I think that it's important to bring other people into those situations. When you feel a passion for something, you want to share it. Right. That's important.
I absolutely agree.
That's how you become your best self. And then if you care about somebody, you want them to be their best self as well. Yeah. It goes back and forth.
Yeah. And that you hit on the nail on the head. I mean, that's exactly something I learned about myself, was that I had to do this for myself, but then I also had to realize that there were people that were counting on me to do this. You know what I mean? In a weird way. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people I found out were looking to me to do this, not because they necessarily wanted to do it for themselves, but they wanted to see me succeed. Mm-hmm. They saw how much effort and how much work I was putting into this and how much I was sacrificing.
You see somebody trying.
Yeah.
Some people are afraid to share when they are trying because it's vulnerable.
Yeah. After this last show, when I got fourth and I was bummed and everything like that, I had it's like bittersweet, but I had literally everybody the next day after I came back in for my next shift. Everybody's asking me, "How was the show?" It was bittersweet because it's like, "Oh, great. All these people, they're proud of me.
Yeah.
They're happy that I'm doing something that I love, and they're interested in my success. They want to make sure that I did well or that I had fun at least and this and that. They're just curious about it. I'm finally getting what I wanted in the beginning. Like they're all curious and happy for me. But I didn't get to bring home anything worthwhile that I wanted to.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But they were still happy for me. They were
Yeah.
still happy for me, and they were just like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." But I think the biggest sentiment to me was that everybody was curious. Everybody was still happy for me. They were just like, "Oh, how'd it go?"
Because you realize that people know now that that's something that you do, and they knew that there was a big moment, and they're checking in on it, and that's people just showing that they care about what you're doing.
That was nice, though.
Okay, so if somebody's trying to lean out, what are your suggestions for them?
Well, for me personally, the biggest things that have made a difference when I'm leaning out during my preps or just in general is my diet as well as some sort of cardio. Everybody hates cardio. I hate cardio. But you need to do some sort of fat burning, like muscle building with weights and things like that. Weightlifting is great to build that muscle. It's really good to do those things. And you're going to burn some fat no matter what, too, with it. For me, one of the biggest things that made a difference when I was during a prep, so like when we go into a cut, is fasted cardio. Fasted cardio is where you wake up, you go do cardio in the morning without eating. So you're not eating anything or consuming anything really. You can have like coffee and water. You could do a coffee to wake you up.
Coffee.
You could do a coffee.
There's coffee.
We're talking like 10 calories are left. But like you don't want to be like chewing and consuming things that your body has to digest. So you wake up, have some water or coffee, then go do some cardio, and then immediately after your cardio, go eat. Start your meals for the day. Now, when we're having our meals, we need to be keeping in mind our dietary needs, but we need to be keeping in mind our calorie goals. We're going to need to be keeping in mind our macro ratios, so our protein, carbs, and fats that we're eating through the day. And we need to be keeping in mind what's super important that people don't is our portions. Whether you're having 4 meals a day, 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day, 3 meals a day, I don't care. Your portions need to be good for what you're doing in that moment because you need to spread them out. Your digestive cycle needs to process and break these foods down properly throughout that amount of time. And then once you've had all your meals for the day, then you would go and do cardio again after you're done eating, and you don't eat after that. So that is what fasted cardio is. So you basically bookend your day with cardio. We're talking like 20 to 40 minutes, let's say. 20 to 40 minutes of any sort of cardio, whether you want to do treadmill, stairs, bicycle, do some sort of cardio, but you bookend your day with waking up hungry, going to bed hungry. Sounds miserable. It can be at times. It depends on, again, the intensity level or the goal in mind. It really kind of depends on what you're trying to do and when you're trying to do it by. If I have a show in 2 weeks, I'm doing fasted cardio probably, well, for my first show, I was doing it every day. But I've kind of learned my body a little bit, and I've kind of figured out how long it takes me to get lean out where I need to be.
Yeah.
So I kind of do it.
That's another thing, too, is learning your own body.
Your body.
Because
it's
we have different body chemistries as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you kind of need to try some extreme things in the first time you do things because you need to throw noodles at the wall and see what sticks. Like obviously just be safe with whatever you do and all the things that you do, be safe. If you see something weird, consult a doctor, consult a professional or something, and stop what you're doing unless you know it's like not hurting you. That's the biggest thing is safety. But try things. Try some things that are going to be a little bit outside of your comfort zone. It's kind of like it's that
okay
weird
to be
balance.
A little bit uncomfortable.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like when they say when you're doing any kind of physical exercise, like say you're doing weights, feel like you can't do any more and then do 5 more. Right? It's
yeah.
It's like pushing yourself to get to that point where your muscles are really truly growing.
When we're training, that's what we train for. Is like that same concept.
Yeah, it's like, I can't do any more. 5 more.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a little more.
Yeah. So because it's helping your body.
Yeah.
To grow and to adapt. And I've been using my Fitbit. So it's kind of a nice thing for people if you're trying to get into that stuff to help you keep track of everything.
Yeah.
And calorie intake, etc., and how much you should be taking and how many steps you should be doing.
I think that's important too, because like you said, calorie intake is like, it's really, everybody thinks like, oh, I'm going to try and hit this many calories. There's something to be said, though, about deficiting your calories.
Mhm.
So we're talking about weight loss. If somebody wants to just kind of like, if they want to drop some weight and they want to kind of shred up a little bit, you need to deficit your calories.
Mhm.
So a deficit of calories can be a multitude of things. If you're not really doing any sort of exercise, a deficit of calories would just be, this is my resting metabolic rate. So this is how much I need to consume in order for my body with no exercise. This is
Right.
what I need to consume to keep my body exactly the way it is now.
Sure. I guess my main thing right now is trying to eat like just very little processed foods.
You know what's funny about that processed food kind of thought process there? Something different I did during my peak week, which the peak week is the last week before your show, and it's like the most intense part of the entire prep. You're slowly cutting carbs, you're cutting water, you're depleting everything because you're trying to get your body primed for that final day. But one thing that people kind of overlook a little bit and they don't think about necessarily, and I didn't really at first too, was sodium. So you cut out sodium because sodium helps you. It'll help you retain water if you're not careful. So you start cutting out sodium and things like that. Well, most protein sources that we consume on a daily basis has sodium in it because they put sodium in like frozen chicken for preservatives. There's sodium in egg whites, which is something that I drink almost on a daily basis, is egg whites, just raw. And I had to
You're
cut
nasty,
that.
dude.
I know,
You're
dude. I drink egg.
nasty.
I love egg whites. I don't mind them at all,
You're
dude.
drinking raw egg.
Yeah.
You're nuts.
Out of the carton, out of the
Ugh.
Costco
Oh,
carton. Yeah.
Jesus.
I don't mind it
I
anymore.
like a
It's fine.
scramble, you know. I don't like a raw.
It's just easier. I can just drink it on the go.
You're gross.
But you know what though? That shit has sodium in it. So I'm looking
Yeah.
at my coach and I'm like, he's telling me, he's like, dude, you got to cut out all the sodium now. And it was like Monday at that point, and my show was Saturday. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to get this much protein, all my meals and everything? He's like, well, something I did for another guy was we switched to just ground turkey. We started just consuming the proteins from your actual meat sources or like just your natural protein sources. So, and I was like, well, can't I just have protein, like a protein shake, like scoops? And he's like, no, look at the label. There's sodium in your protein, in your like powdered protein. There's a ton of sodium in there. But that was something that I actually saw a crazy difference in my sodium or the tightness of my skin because I was able to drop some water by just switching to a natural protein source or a preservative-free protein source. You know what I mean? That's another funny topic to me, is the stigmas or the cultural norms that have gone through since we were children to now. Like the first thing was, it was fat was the bad thing for the longest time. And then it went to sugars are the terrible thing for all this time. And then it went to carbs. Carbs were a terrible thing.
That's what we're being told.
And then calories. And then they started putting calories on all these menus and stuff. Like, you got to, oh no, you just need to watch your calories. And now fat is popular.
If I order a Papa John's pizza, they tell me how much my pizza is per slice now. And I'm like, that's not fair.
You don't need a calorie counter to know that pizza is not good for you.
I know I'm not being healthy, but Jesus, don't tell me.
Psychopaths out there, like, don't make me feel like that.
Don't tell me. But yeah, fats were the enemy for a long time. Ketogenic diets, right?
Fats are popular now.
Yeah. So do you
Healthy
do that?
Fats, by the way. I've thought about keto. I've really thought about it, but I'm telling you guys, it's a commitment. You cannot falter on this diet. There's no room for error. And so that's why it works though. I've seen it work wonders on people. And so what a ketogenic diet is, for people that don't know, what you're doing is you're tricking your body into a state of ketosis. Ketosis is where your body is actually burning all your fats, your stored fats, as a source of energy rather than carbohydrates. Because our bodies natively now, we've trained our bodies into burning carbohydrates as our source of energy, right? But there's different types of fats out there. So trans fats that's the bad stuff. That's the stuff you don't want to even really stick with. But the saturated fats, there's some good saturated fats. There's polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. Those are the good saturated fats that you want to stick with. But yeah, so keto diets it's very trendy right now. It's very, very trendy. But here's the thing. Everybody wants to try it because they see these crazy results, and you'll get crazy results from it, but you need to stick to it. I don't think most people these days have the patience to stick with it, because when you put your body into a state of ketosis, it usually takes like about a week, maybe two. And during that week or two, we're talking throughout the entire process, you're only eating about 40 to 50 grams of carbs. If you're a female, you might be even consuming a little bit less because just how our bodies break down certain macros. But We're talking 40 to 50 grams of carbs. That's not a
Nothing.
lot. That's not a lot.
And there's carbs in our veggies. That's the messed up
Yeah,
part.
there's carbs and dietary fibers. So
Yeah.
you're going to be cutting out a lot of veggies as well too. Why they cut it out a little bit is because it all adds up. Because your expenditure for carbohydrates throughout the day is so little. It's like, well, you might as well not even waste it on, something that's only dietary fiber. You know what I mean? You might as well make it into something that's actually a complex carb, something that's going to give you something a little bit more sustainable in sense of that.
Yeah.
So, and also because there's carbohydrates and a lot of other things too. So you want to be able to use it for other meals. Now, I'm not necessarily like, I still follow a pretty regimented diet in the sense of like my days, like my base meals, they're all meal prepped. You know what I mean? They all kind of fall within whatever dietary macro needs that I need. And then I give myself maybe like one kind of crap meal a day. Yeah. Right?
I do cheat meal, not cheat day.
Yes.
Cheat days make me actually feel kind of gross.
God, dude, you can kill yourself.
You feel gross.
Yeah, I used to do that too. I used to do cheat days.
The other thing too is like if you're eating all hot Cheetos and McDonald's, that's what your body craves. Now, if you break that cycle, you go through that process and you get your body to crave green beans, Brussels sprouts. I don't know. Maybe their season you cook. You know what I mean? You cook them the right way. They're delicious. But you have to feed your body that kind of good nutrition, and it learns to crave it again. It has to go through a reset.
Yes. Yep.
Doesn't it?
It absolutely
it learns.
Yeah.
It learns what you should be craving.
And every now and then a good cheat meal like will kind of help you crave those good things again.
It will. I eat a bunch of naughty food and I'm like, oh, that was good, but I feel kind of gross.
You
now
always do. It takes consistency of being on those good meals to feel that kind of like that guilt. You know what I mean? But that guilt's okay. It's not like you're sitting there. I'm not saying to people that they should just tear themselves apart because of it. But a little bit of guilt after you eat something bad when you're normally really consistently healthy with your foods is okay. That's a normal thing. That's a normal reaction because you're telling yourself like, hey, you're usually pretty structured. You're pretty on top of it. And what you ate right there was fun and everything like that. But tomorrow, you need to get back to it.
Yeah, I think that's really healthy, actually.
Yes. Because again, you're pushing yourself. You're pushing yourself to be that next better you all the time. You know what I mean? You don't need to go to the furthest extreme, but
decide who you want to be. Mm-hmm. Do you want to have, do you look at people and you go, oh, look how fit they are. Look how they look they look healthy, look trim, their bodies look great. I wish I could be that. You can.
Yeah.
You just have to start making those decisions. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame that people feel like, oh, I can't do that.
I hate when people say they can't do something.
You can. You just have to.
Because I did it for so long.
And I've done that with myself in my own ways. Yeah. For sure.
If people are ever having that like kind of like on the cusp conversation with you, it doesn't mean it can be anything at all. Mm-hmm. But if they're on that cusp of like, I don't know, maybe I'll do this, maybe I don't know, I'm kind of doing it. I always am like really good about just like saying, do it. You should just do it. Fuck it, do it. My dad told me when I was a little kid, since I was a little kid, he always said, you can do anything for a year. Anything. Whether you hate it, you love it, you can do anything for a year. And I've lived my life by that. You got to weigh it out. You got to really see what's for you and what's not for you. Mm-hmm. I think that's important.
What else is going on with you right now? You have EastonFit?
So after like the first show, I kind of just developed this brand. Everybody was kind of like influencing me and telling me like, yeah, dude, you should do something with this. You should kind of like go somewhere with this. And we see all these these Instagram kind of like famous people, or we see people that are like kind of like sport models and things like that. And I was like, dude, I want to do something like that. That'd be kind of cool to make some money off this, or try to make some money. But then also like, what's the one thing I really want out of this? I want to create a community. I want people to see what I'm doing with myself and see the transformation that I've made for myself. And I want to see if that can inspire them to do that for themselves as well. Not necessarily fitness and fitness only, but just motivational kind of thing. That was like the main goal, using bodybuilding as a platform. Mm-hmm. My bodybuilding has been a series of goals. It's a series of goals, the things that I want to attain. And I want to set that towards other people, positive goals to change their life. And we can just use fitness as a platform. It doesn't have to be the end all be all for everybody else, but it can just be the vessel.
It's a means to an end.
Yes, exactly. And if people want to learn more about fitness or bodybuilding, then we can help them along the ways. But we're going to use our vessel and our platform as our model. And then hopefully people can see more within themselves, whatever potential that they need from that. I'm actually in the process right now of getting my own personal training certification.
It's great.
Yeah. It's just one more step. Like I already know how to train, but like you might as well just get like certificate that people like are just like, oh, you're certified.
You have a website?
I do. It's eastonfit.com, and just like kind of little blogs, like just little blurbs talking about things. Put some pictures up there. I have a couple workouts up there and things like that. I'm trying to get that a little bit bigger. I've been focusing on the Instagram following for a while now, because that's like probably the most popular platform I have right now. It's the easiest thing to update and everything like that, but I know I need to venture out and kind of expand it even more. Yeah, it's
Cool.
nice.
So I'll make sure I post all of that stuff so people get in touch with you.
Yes. Please do. Actually, like, I'm always like kind of willing to help people. Like I said, I'm already training people. I always warn people I'm not a trainer yet, but I can kind of help you if I have guides and things like that can
yeah,
get
but
you on
can
the
share
right
what
track.
you've learned about what you've done to get to the point that you've gotten to.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
You're very welcome. Thanks you for having me. This is fun. This is a blast.
That's it for this one, you guys. Thanks for listening. And if you want to get in touch with Andy, you can find the EastonFit info in the description. You can find me at Courtney Diamond on socials or read my blog at CourtneyDiamond.com. Subscribe and leave a nice rating if you're feeling friendly today. And with that, I'm out of here. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.